Welcome to Business Talk Sister Gawk. This is Becca, and today's episode is how to start a party rental business. This is part 2, and with me today I have back Ted Arnaldi. And am I saying your last name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I thought I was, and then I was like, I'm not. Wait.
Yep.
That's like one of my biggest fears of podcasting. Like, did I pronounce that right?
Honestly, I'm not sure how to pronounce it myself. Just
Okay. Yeah. So last week we kind of talked quite a bit just about like how you got into the business and everything like that. We talked a little bit about some like nitty gritty stuff with all of the maintenance and whatever. I learned that there's a niche business out there for going around the country and sewing party bounce houses.
correct.
Yeah, which I thought was, wow, that's a whole nother thing, right? Anyways, so the next question kind of that I wanted to follow up with, when you had mentioned like you guys do a lot of cleaning and everything for these party rentals, because one of the things that I've heard a lot about from other people is like, well, we got this and it was super smelly and like all the kids smelled bad like after we used this piece of equipment. And I'm like, man, yeah. How do you do that? Is there certain chemicals you have to use that don't deteriorate the material or anything like that? Or do you have any recommendations on like, this is what's best?
Well, actually, most of the chemical products are not good on the vinyl.
That's what I was wondering.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we use there's literally bounce house cleaners out there too. With some of these large manufacturers sell them. We just get like a simple green. It's chemical free and it's clean and it's just called simple green.
Okay.
So it's we get a big concentrate of it. So if it really needs a good cleaning, we have a higher concentrate, and if it's just normal clean, just lower concentrate. But so we just clean it up, we vacuum it up and everything up, and then we just mop her down.
Okay.
So, but yeah, a lot of companies will just drop it off, roll it up, next place, and actually that's the company I bought it from, the bounce house business from. That's how they got started. Actually, they had rented one from a company. Mm-hmm. They saw how dirty they were, and they thought we could do this better, and so that's how it started. So you just gotta put the effort in and cleaning them. So
Yeah, well, and you think about like that aspect of it, like then you have to have a place to bring it back to blow it back up.
Yep.
And I was going to ask you about that, like for timing, because you said there's an extra zipper and all this to like reduce the amount of time that you take to inflate. What's like the average time that it takes you? Or do you tell your people in advance, hey, we're going to be there by this time, so please have it like on the deflation setting or something?
We actually ask them to keep it up so we can clean it quickly.
Oh, got it.
So we'll do a quick,
okay.
Usually like a 5-10 minute clean with a vacuum and a mop is adequate to clean it. 2 guys, doesn't take that much time. Sometimes if they already have it deflated, we're just like, yeah, let's just do it. They roll it up, and we'll get it later. But no, some of them have zippers too. Some of them don't. Mm-hmm. The older ones don't have as many zippers. I feel like they've realized over time that it's nice to have them. So like our newer ones are like have zippers on both sides, and so.
So you have to factor that into your pickup time and everything else.
Yeah, we used to take I want to say we took like 45 minutes for a drop off or a pickup when we first started. Now we're down to like 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
And most of it is just like, when I'm walking here, I'm going to grab this. Before it was like, oh, let's go get, forgetting it and going back and getting it. So like, you learn how to use each step efficiently, rather than just doing something, so, and sometimes it's like, okay, first thing we do, we learned first thing we do is after it's clean, we unplug it, we open it all up and let it deflate. And then let's, pull the stakes and let's, wrap up the extension cords and the blower and put all that away. And then the last thing, okay, let's get it rolled up, so just learning how to be smart that way.
Yeah, because like otherwise you're like, oh, we cleaned it, now we're pulling out the stakes and we haven't even started deflating or
exactly,
whatever. You have to do the right steps in the right time to be most efficient.
Right.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So with bringing them places, and you had mentioned like you're going to all of these different areas. So do you have to like, factor in, or have you considered factoring in like having people come and pick stuff up from you?
Insurance doesn't allow it.
Really?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, because I've definitely talked to other companies where they say you have to come pick up all your chairs.
Yep. Oh, then tables and chairs, that's the only thing we do. But anything with that needs setup,
Okay.
whether it's a tent or a bounce house.
Okay.
Some of these places do allow you to pick it up. I don't know how their insurance lets them do it, or if they just aren't telling their insurance they're doing it. I don't know. But we don't.
We just don't tell anybody you did it.
Well, that
Yeah.
it's just we used to actually let people set them up too, and I'm not sure if that was even okay with the insurance company or not when we first started, because that's how they used to do it, and we would charge a setup fee if they asked us to do it, which was most of the time because people didn't know what they were doing. And in your head, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to do this, But then it got to the point where sometimes we get there like,
That looks unsafe.
"Whoa."
Yeah.
Like, one time you see like the tether is wrapped around the tree instead of a stake. And I'm like, okay, and we started, a lot of people did do it perfectly fine, but we just saw more and more of it being done in a way we didn't feel comfortable. And then we found out like, well, I'm not even sure insurance was be happy with us letting them do that anyway. So we stopped letting people set them up too for that reason. And actually we just got rid of the setup fee altogether. We just kind of do it. And honestly, we thought to ourselves, I'm like, you know what? When you can do it efficiently, it's really not taking that much more time than just dropping them off.
Okay.
So we're just like, let's just do it. Then we know, peace of mind, it's safe. And then we don't have to worry about the insurance company being mad at us either. So
Yeah. Yeah. When you had mentioned like a lot about like the weather and stuff. So once they're there and they're set up, what happens? Like, do you just have a policy for when it starts raining? You just say, hey, you got to be done or something like that? Or how does that work?
So if it's just kind of drizzling, if you let it go down, all that water is going to soak in there. But if
Okay.
it's just like, like a light rain, that air is like pushing up out of it too. So the water's not going to get in there. Now it starts downpouring. You're going to have problems because you got electricity.
Yeah.
You got the blower getting water inside of it. The water's going to get inside there. It's slippery. It's not, the kids aren't, well, it's kind of fun to slip around in there, but they're not really jumping anymore either,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if it's going to start downpouring, we tell you to like, just drop it. And we're going to just deal with it later, which is what happened this weekend. Otherwise, we actually kind of ask you to like keep it up. Oh, that's the other thing. When they take it down, the blower needs to go inside. Because that's the
Okay.
thing that's going to have problems, right?
Right.
Sucking up water and electricity doesn't work really well together. So
Yeah. So is that anything you've ever, like when you say like the water gets inside, you're talking about like through the seams and stuff, it's getting into the actual like area where the air is.
right. So like the blowers are blowing air constantly, right?
Right.
So there is I wouldn't say holes, but the air is also coming out at the same time, right? So people will be like, oh, there's a lot of air coming. I'm like, there has to be air coming out. Otherwise, it's going to pop, So the water gets in the same way, just going the other way.
Yeah.
So if it's light enough, the water's not going to get through as the air is blowing out.
Right. Yeah.
But if it's a lot of rain, it will.
So what's the average dry time then if it's like super soaked?
I have one sitting up right now, just drying. It's probably still wet. It takes like, it depends on how warm it is,
Yeah.
A big part of it is, I know, so one of my people that I met over time, he's in Orlando.
Okay.
It rains every day, pretty much
Yeah.
in Orlando. So they put up all their stuff and they just expect it to rain, and by the time they pick it up, it's dry. So, but up here, it's like, it could take a day or two, depending on how wet it is, It's not warm enough. It's too humid, so the dryness helps. But, yeah.
And does that ever like have issues when you have another rental coming up? Like, do you ever have to like figure that out logistically?
That's what we're doing now. Like, we have 2 of them that got soaked over the weekend that go out this weekend. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're trying to get them all ready to
Trying to
go.
get them all dry. Well,
Okay.
One time we sent one, we thought it was all dry, and we pulled it out, and we're like, oh, shoot. So we're drying it the best we can. But luckily it was a friend of ours, and they were, they're like, oh, they had so much fun. They got towels, and they thought that was the best part, was drying it all. Thank goodness.
That's
But,
funny.
that was the
Okay.
only time we ever really sent one wet that I recall. So
Yeah. So tell me about, like, you said you guys pretty busy on the weekends.
Yep.
So is that something where you're like, in the future, we want to try to continue to grow our during the week, or is it just not something that you want to do just because of that risk of you might not be ready?
Yeah, we're always trying to grow during the week for sure.
Okay.
The weekends are busy enough that you don't have a weekend in the summer. That's the worst part. You don't have one.
Yeah.
You have a few hours here and there in the summer, on the weekend, but you're not gonna have a camping trip over the weekend if you're doing this, very often. So
Yeah.
but
Okay, so then you said your background is in accounting.
correct.
So how did that help you, or what would you say, like, if somebody doesn't have that background, what are the things that they need to be thinking about for this type of business?
You definitely need to somehow get financials, whether you hire something like an accountant to do that or not, because insurance is going to require it. Banks are going to require it for loans, and I would say as an accountant, you should get an accountant,
Okay.
But I mean, just making sure that your cash is coming in, looking good, and paying attention to that. The biggest part, I would say. And
Yeah, and so you mentioned like a little bit about loans or financing. Was that something that you think most people would have to do with this kind of business?
yeah, because we talked about at one point last episode about like the startup cost and everything. I mean, you can up like 50 grand in there, right? But with everything that you need, and try to keep enough money to float as you're slower, float the insurance and everything else. I mean, I would expect that you'd probably want to get a loan. You might start with, or you could start with one bounce house, and
That's what I was kind of wondering.
Yeah.
Like, can you just start with one and then
I
grow
think
it
the
from
hardest
there?
part with one though is just paying off that interest. I mean, insurance.
Yeah.
That's a lot of rentals to get to $5,000. So that would be my thought.
Yeah. Of like, okay, factor these things in. If you're going to go, you kind of have to punch it like all at the
Right.
same time
Yeah, I mean,
to make it a good go.
I would say you're probably gonna pay at least $3,000 for a bounce house, and they're $1,000 or so for the shipping of it, and so you're at $4,000 and another $5,000 on insurance. So you're looking at close to $10,000, and you're probably not gonna make that your first year on one bounce house. So you're probably gonna want to put more money into it to sustain it between both paying the insurance every year until you're actually able to pay it all, and get more product.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're going to be able to get that, because that $5,000, it takes a long time to hit that minimum. So it's going to stay there for a long time for you. And I say that $5,000, I mean, that's not necessarily accurate. That's what I'm seeing. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm past the minimum at this point, but that's what it looks like, seeing what other people are saying. Yeah, I would either a loan that you can slowly pay off over like 5-7 years, or being able to have a nice cash reserve to pay them until you start netting a positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of like, as you were talking about all these different things, I'm like, I know I'm going to ask you all these numbers questions because you would know the answer. And like other people would maybe be like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of figure it out as I go. So,
Your background. Yep.
no, that's helpful for a lot of people that maybe don't have that experience.
Right.
So I just had a question too on, as you're like growing and expanding, have you considered what's next for like, are there additional things that maybe besides the ice cream truck, or like
Yeah.
what are like, oh, these things are things that we've seen other people do in the industry that we've considered or maybe will do in the future?
We've tried other things. We had a jelly ball.
What is that?
So it's a common. It's in between like an airsoft and a paintball.
Okay.
And it's. I mean, you'll see it like Walmart. They have these. I think they're called Orbeez.
Oh, yes.
And
Okay.
then we started that kind of when that became a thing too. Jelly Ball is its own company. It's out of Texas, and I mean, it's more of a commercial brand than like what you buy from
Then
like
like
Walmart.
the
or something. Yeah.
Orbeez guns. Yeah.
But it's essentially kind of similar. But I think with the Orbeez coming out about the same time, and then renting, I don't know. We try different things all the time. They work out. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, well,
like
some
last year we
people-
tried the dunk tank and we went water slide, and they do work out. The water slide's not as popular as I thought it would be, but I don't know, maybe more marketing. Like I said before, it's that most of our marketing is word of mouth. So maybe some money into that is makes sense. But, we try the dunk tank, and that thing is out all the time. So, we are always looking at, and that's why we go to that huge convention down in Florida, is that's what we're looking at, and growing. I think our biggest and best next step is kind of like an indoor type situation for the other 7 months out of the year. We do have a property. Our plant, we actually bought some equipment for what's called an inflatable park.
Oh, really?
It's going to be, I think, our inflatable park it's basically, it's 9 pieces that go together to make an 8,400 square foot bounce house.
Wow.
Adults, kids, everything. We also bought a large, I can't remember how big this one is. I think it's like 4,000 or some square feet laser tag at the same time.
Okay.
So, but we're just having a hard time with the financing part for the building.
Yeah.
It's a large building, and it's a very tall building, and it costs a lot of money. So
making it worth it is like, how do you make sure that it's going to be good? So do you use any of that new equipment like in the summer anywhere?
No, they're way too big. They're just way too, we won't be able to move them around, So we're just, right now we don't even have them. We bought them. They're still in the laser tank places in very South Texas, like Brownsville, I think. They're storing it for us there. And then the inflatable park is being stored in Orlando. The same guy that I talked about earlier, he's storing it for us graciously. So, 'cause we don't really have anywhere to put it right now. So we'll get the biggest reason is going to get it.
Yeah.
It's hard to get just a shipper to do that because it's all these different pieces and it's at his place. So, I got to go down there at some point.
Have to do it.
At some point I got to go down there and get it, but I can't do it in the summer. I don't want to do it in the summer because then I'm not doing stuff up here. So
Right. Yeah. You have to value out your time and when it's worth it to strategically execute. Yeah, for sure.
And it's multiple trips. It's so much, so they're huge. So, yeah.
You just got to work out a deal with some privately owned shipping company that needs a lot of bounce houses for their kids, and then
yeah. There's a couple of them up here. Maybe they would do that. Yeah.
I'll give you free bounce house rentals
for life.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Okay. No, that's really good to know. So do you have anything that you're like, hey, this was a great boom, or this was a bust that we had and I would recommend doing it differently? Do you have any learning experiences like that?
I would say the biggest bust is that Jolly Ball that we talked about. It didn't really go out very much. Some people liked it, but we had problems with something every single time. The batteries stopped working because they're electric, or just the gun stopped working, or whatever it was. Just even when it did go out, wasn't very happy. With the outcome. And then I looked at him I told my wife that hey, people are going to rent these and something happens to them, and we're going to get a mentality from people that their products don't work correctly. So they're not going to rent the bounce houses, or when their kids are graduating, they're not going to rent the tents because we just kind of stop that. So I think that was and it wasn't cheap, it was bunkers and guns. And so I think that was, it was a few grand, and we didn't really make very much money off of it. So that was our biggest bust. We haven't had too many busts, to be honest with you, but, biggest boom is the obstacle course. We got the obstacle course last year, and it's scheduled at this point to go out 20 times this summer.
Wow.
I'm we don't even have 20 weeks. It's multiple times a week. So it's just, and the biggest thing is companies, if they have not employee day, members day or something like that, or they like to have that because it's, when you have a bounce house and you have 30 kids, you have 6 of them in there, 8 of them in there.
Yeah.
And they're, all these kids are waiting. Well, the obstacle course, it's a line. You go through, you come back, you get in the back of the line. You know what I mean? So it's
got a better
really
throughput. Yeah.
So Lake Country Power has them for 3 straight days, because we'll go to Cohasset one day, Virginia the next day, Cal River the day after that. So, so we had that happen. That's really helped our middle of the week that we talked about earlier. With companies. So that was probably our biggest boom. It's out all the time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm going to transition to the gawk portion for this episode.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you a story about a bounce house. Actually, I don't think it was a bounce house. It was like one of those slides, but it was like a blow up one, you know, those really tall.
Yep.
And I remember when I was little, we had rented one with our like educational group or whatever. Like our parents all went in on it. And we went into it and it did start raining. Like, like super, super intense rain. And then it became a slip and slide.
Yep, like a water slide.
Yeah, which was like, wow, this is fantastic. But then one of the kids ended up like turning off the blowers. And we were all on top, right? And so then it starts like deflating. And like, I totally get what you mean about the first time it happens, you're like, oh.
Yep.
We're like all at the top. And we were like trying to figure out like how to like get everybody off or something as it was like kind of like folding in on itself. But we never thought like, oh, we should just turn it back on.
I know that's
like,
the thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny because when we did it and when it happened at National Night Out, someone came and turned it off. And all these parents were holding it up, and it was the fireman just walked back there and turned it back on. You know, like,
yeah.
So.
Yeah. Right. And it's like, you think like, oh no, we got to do this to get all the kids out or something. But yeah, no, it's just like, oh, this is a simple solution.
Yep.
Yeah. No. So I think that that's helpful just to kind of think through, like, do you ever do any kind of training with people when you drop it off of like, if this happens, do this or anything?
So we send out, so the rental agreement has a big checklist of what to do with inflatables. So if they're reading the rental agreement, they see it there. 2 days before the event, we also send that same list out again through an email. And then we do talk to them a little bit, you know, if we, sometimes, I mean, not all the time, but we try to make sure, you know, like it's all ready to go. But no, we have a big checklist of everything, make sure you have supervision and make sure that. And one of the craziest things is it says is no silly string. And that's because it's not for cleaning. It's actually interesting because silly string has a chemical in it that'll eat through the vinyl. So that's the one thing that, like, if we see a bunch of silly string on it, you're probably gonna get a cleaning charge because I've only ever charged one person with a cleaning charge, but because it was so bad. But because it strictly says that in multiple spots, and then it ruins the equipment. So I don't know. That's
interesting. No, that's a good insider tip.
But then I also think like we're spraying that on our skin, like it eats through the. What is it? You know, I don't know. It seems to be fine, but it just kind of shocks me. But
yeah. Well, thank you for being with me. I really
thanks.
appreciate it. And if you've been listening to this episode and you enjoyed it, you should give it a review on wherever you are listening. And I will see you next time.